Let's switch gears. Minimum wage. We are all seeing the struggle on small businesses with the increase of minimum wage and creating significant price increases. This is a significant issue for both businesses and workers. So my question for you is, what's your position on the minimum wage increase? I'll start with Snoqualmie Councilmember Rob Watton.
All right, first of all, let's go back to the affordability thing. There are a lot of pressures for people that are raising families, and I recognize that. But the other side of the equation is people have to employ them, and we have to make sure that we find the common ground for small businesses to be successful, and when they're successful, then they will be able to pay higher wages. This is arbitrary. When the county government passed this, $20.29, my opponent, and I watched the proceedings, said that she's talked to farmers that are already paying that and paying as much as double that. I'm still trying to find the farmer paying $40 an hour. But the reality is we need to have some common ground, and we need to make sure that businesses are successful. They did pass an amendment to that. One was to go back and study, especially the farms, in what the outcome is a couple years later. Well, I'll tell you, we've seen restaurants after restaurant close in Seattle as kind of a wave of the repercussions, and that concerns me. And they actually testified in the council before they voted that this was going to be very harmful, and there was an amendment that came forward to include tips, because oftentimes tips almost double the hourly wage, if not more. So we need somebody with business management experience to bring balance to the King County Council, and that's what I offer. I'm not a career politician. I'm a banker and a community member, and somebody that volunteers to make sure that our families and our communities remain safe and sound, and that we have the services that we need to make sure to keep everyone healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
King County Councilmember Sarah Perry.
Thank you. Robbie, you've been council member 2 terms, and so I don't know what a career politician is. I've just been there 4 years, but minimum wage it came through from my colleague Ramaz Ahalai because there was a huge difference within a 1 block radius in Seattle, and I was frustrated because that's a long ways from us, and it was going to pass. Me, whether it's me or anyone else in my seat, it would have passed, and they had the votes. And so the most I could do was to get a strong amendment to study it. That was the very most I could do. So $20.29 at 2,080 hours of full-time work is $42,203. That is still considered in the adjusted median income, qualifying for a very low income housing. $20.29 is $42,203. That is still considered very low income in the adjusted median income housing market for rentals and for home ownership. We have to be able to allow our families to make it. I went to the farmers because arguably they had the thinnest margin. And there were a couple, I'll put you in touch with them, who said, I'm already paying twice that just to get people out here. I'm not farming half of my land because I can't get the employees. And if I get the employees, I can't get the housing. And there's no transit out here. There are all kinds of issues going on here. So it affects our farmers. It affected our small businesses in Falls City and Snoqualmie Pass. That was hard. They still support me very much. They understand, but it's really hard. Aroma is a great supporter of mine. Snoqualmie Pass, wonderful supporters in the past, very strong supporters of mine. They understand the most I could do was to bring as many people to the table as possible and insist on a study to make sure we understood the implications, and if we can do things like pay for internships or pay for apprenticeships so that we can pay the difference and keep our youth engaged in working, because you're not going to necessarily hire a youth in that same level if you have to pay them the same amount, and that was understandable. Can King County support with an apprenticeship so that we can bring our youth into agriculture or into the small businesses and pay that differential in support of that. So we're having those conversations like we do with labor. But we do have to look at both of these things. How do we make it affordable? How do we keep our families here? How do we keep them in their homes? Thank you, Jen Kirk, for working with Reclaim. We have to make sure that all of these things are viable, that our businesses are, and our families. And so I'm going to fight for both of those. We cannot do one without the other, and it is a difficult balance, but I'm here for both of that. And if we know that something is going to pass anyway, the most that we can do is to get as much information as possible, and I'm proud to have done that.
Thank you.